Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Baseball Reference Deep Dive, where we type in random in the search bar on Baseball Reference and we see what we get. The last time we got a 1934 game between the New York Baseball Giants and the Boston Braves, a year after the Giants won the World Series in 1933. We got to see some lesser known Hall of Famers, a couple of guys surrounding Mel Ott in the Giants lineup. Some impressive players and maybe some that kind of fly under the radar in terms of those early 1900s teams. So, without further ado, we're going to do the thing that we always do. We're going to type in random and we'll see what we get. Another box score. The Cleveland Naps and the Boston Red Sox. All right, let's see what we got. Tris Speaker, that's a name that is fairly familiar. Nap Lajoie, was he named, or was the team named after him? Lajoie. Lajoie, or Lajoie. Lajoie. I think Lajoie, I'll go with that. Hall of Famer. Trying to see if there's any other names I recognize off the top. Definitely Tris Speaker, one of the best of all time. Long career between Boston and Cleveland, one of the earlier players. All right, so this is Boston and Cleveland. Boston scored throughout the entirety of the game. Cleveland kind of made it closer at the end, but not as much as the game may have indicated. Let's see what Boston did in 1910. Finished fourth in the American League. They finished behind the Philadelphia A's. And then it looks like Cleveland finished well below that. Okay. So this game was at League Park. I would assume this is in Cleveland. Almost 3,000 people. June 13th, 1910. Let's check these players. Harry Lord. Okay, player. 1910 was his last year with Boston. He was traded to the White Sox, it seems. Amby Connell as well. Billy Pirtle, Frank Smith. Oh, wait. Is this August 10th? Is that what was that our game? No. June 13th. Okay. 1910 was our year. Okay, so he was traded several months after this game. Harry Hooper, ooh, Hall of Famer. Long career, 17 years. A lot of sacrifices. I wonder if these were bunts or sac flies. Look at the OPS plus numbers. Above league average pretty much every single year of his career, except for the very last year in Chicago and then just a random year in Boston, a couple years. So this was only the second year of his career. Not an exceptional year. Actually, this is a pretty mediocre year. He did not slug very well at all. A lot of hits, but just not a lot of power at all. Eclipsed 100 runs a couple of times, so there you go. 100 runs on the grid with Boston and with Chicago. Now, Tris Speaker, Hall of Famer. Didn't hit for a lot of power, but look at these double numbers. Yes, the all-time leader in doubles. Every single year of his career, minus the very first two. Look at even this. He had 22 doubles in 64 games in his final season with Philadelphia. That is absurd. So from 1909, from age 21 all the way to his 40-year-old year in 1928, he had 20 doubles every single year. And most years he had 40 or 50. That is wild. So towards the beginning of his career, he hit 340. What was his career batting average? 345? Oh my goodness. Look at this year too. So I guess it inflates when you see how I don't want that. you see how high his OPS was. He led every single slash category in 1916 because he had 41 doubles, and this was kind of before the age of the home run. You could see he led the league in home runs in 1912. He was an MVP in that year. MVP candidate a couple of these years. It's crazy that he wasn't an MVP candidate in any other year. 792 doubles. The all-time leader, Tris Speaker. Oops, I skipped one, but we'll get back to him. Larry Gardner. Wonder if there's any relation to Brett Gardner. Doesn't seem to be indicated here. It's a decent year. Hit for okay average. Good average, 100-some hits. He was an RBI guy towards the end of his career. Look at these numbers. These, oops, I always do that. Go back to the top. Yeah, okay. 120, 118 RBI. So he flip-flopped between Cleveland and Boston. So they must have been one of those teams that would do business with each other, because I've seen that a couple of times already. Larry Gardner, Jake Stahl. Jake Stahl, so this was towards the end of his career. Led the league in strikeouts this year and in home runs. He's kind of an all-or-nothing guy. Respectfully, not a lot of slug, which I guess that makes sense with just this era of baseball. A lot of triples. Big strikeout guy. I guess, yeah, this is kind of the same thing. Not a lot of home runs, but not a lot of people struck out either in this era. Duffy Lewis. This was his first year. When was his debut? Debut was April 16th, so a couple months prior to this. Had a good rookie year. 8 homers, 29 doubles. It's a pretty good rookie season. Played with New York as well, so part of that Boston-New York rivalry. You can add Duffy Lewis to that list. Bill Kerrigan. Okay player, missed a year in 1909. Towards the beginning of his career and middle-ish of his career. Not a great season. That's kind of about, he's a pretty consistent guy, never really too high or too low. Heine Wagner. Heine Wagner started his career with the Giants and then missed several years for whatever reason, maybe in the minor leagues or something. Or maybe playing internationally with teams like Buffalo or Toronto, like we've seen in some other episodes. Never hit for a lot of power. Decent, I mean, very consistent guy. Never too high, never too low. That's Heine Wagner. Clyde Engel came in late in this game. This was early on in his career. This is not his first full season, though. Look at these defensive numbers. Played all over the baseball field. Just as many walks as strikeouts. Decent year. Not too bad. Clyde Engel. And then the pitcher, Eddie Cicotte. Knuckles was his nickname. That's cool. 51.1 or 59.1 WAR. He's a World Series champion with the White Sox in 17. Wow, look at this year. 346 innings pitched to a 1.53 ERA, 28 wins. He almost got better as his career went along. This was towards the beginning of his career. He was very good, but not even close to as good as these numbers. MVP candidate in 1914. Didn't even, he led the league in WAR. Led the league in a lot of other categories, too. Look at this whip. Career whip of 1.154. And how the heck did he not win or even come close to an MVP win this year? That's shocking. Eddie Cicotte pitched a good game in this one. Well, maybe not. but he won. 9 innings, 14 hits, 7 runs, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. Okay. Now on to the Cleveland Naps. Jack Graney. First full season. Not a great year. Had better ones afterwards. Led the league in doubles. Shockingly over one of his counterparts. Led the league in walks a couple of times too. Harry Niles. Towards the end of his career. Oh, he didn't have much left. So the Boston and then Cleveland. So okay, this was when he was with Cleveland. So he was traded between these two teams at some point. When was that? Purchased by Cleveland on May 27th, so just a couple weeks before this game. He was with Boston, and then he flipped over to Cleveland. Was not having a great year at this point. Terry Turner, middle of his career. Hit .308 one year. That's pretty good. It's the only other time, though. I always find it funny in this era of baseball that pretty much literally anybody, like if you pick a random game like this, just two like random teams, like middle of the road teams, like somebody led some category at some point. It wasn't like you have guys like Clayton Kershaw leading like every single category in a year. You get weird stuff like this just every single year. Terry Turner randomly leads in sacrifice hits. Ted Easterly. Second season. One of his better years. Looks like this other year. Who is this? Kansas City Packers. It's a team name I didn't know existed. Not a long career, comparatively speaking to some of these other guys. Harry Bemis. This was the end of his career. What was his last game? September, so a couple months after this, he was done. Had a good rookie year. All this time with Cleveland. Rookie year seemed to be his best year. George Stovall. Firebrand is his nickname. Pretty consistent RBI numbers. Drive-in runs towards the middle to back end of the lineup. Also played for Kansas City. This was the St. Louis Browns, I believe. Art Kruger. Not a great career. Started in Cleveland. When was he traded? 10 August. He was returned to the Cleveland Naps. Wait. So he was traded, claimed off waivers, and then returned. So this operating procedure definitely not in place anymore. A little bit different how they operated back then. Not a good career. Pretty short one, too. Bill Bradley. It's a little bit better. This is his last year in Cleveland. Didn't play a lot of games. 11 home runs one year. Never quite got to 200 hits, but he did get to 100 runs a couple of times. 271. Decent career. Bill Bradley. Cleveland guy through and through. Born, died, and buried in Cleveland. August 26th. His debut, that was my birthday. Just maybe 100 years after. Willie Mitchell. Pitcher. First full season. 2.60 ERA. He had a good career. Played in Detroit a little bit too. Gave up like no home runs ever, which I guess most people didn't, but I guess it makes sense that if you have none given up, then you lead the league in that regard. Spec Harkness. It's a cool name. Not a lot of time played. When did he debut? Oh, is this our game? June 13th? Hey, we got an MLB debut. Let's go. Spec Harkness. All right. It's his first game ever. Came against Boston. 1910. Had a good rookie year. 10-7, 3.04 ERA. Had a complete game shutout. Also recorded a save. This is a good rookie year. Very short career, but very cool that we got an MLB debut. Spec Harkness. Elmer Flick, Hall of Famer. Hall of Famer. This was his last year. Was this one of his last games? Yeah, I was getting there. So we're what, June 13th. So a month later, we're getting towards this Hall of Famer's final game. Last game was 4th of July, 1910. Wow, look at this 1906 year. Workhorse, and then this 1905 year, he was leading the league in most of the offensive major categories. More walks than strikeouts, 110 RBIs, a lot of triples, doubles every year as well. Clips 200 hits once, 313 hitter. All right, Elmer Flick, this is your guy. If you want a bunch of these random 1900's players on your grid, this is your guy because he suffices for most of it. It'll work with Cleveland. It'll work a little bit with Philly. Batting average was always well over 300. That's pretty cool. So Elmer Flick, a Hall of Famer, came into pinch hit in this game. Did not start. Walt Doan. Not a lot of time played. Only 7 games. When was his last game? It was not until September of this year, so did not play much. When was this game in comparison to some other games? One of his last games, perhaps? He didn't play in a lot. So this game against Boston gave up 2 runs. That was really kind of one of his better outings, even though it was, well, nah, I guess it wasn't. It wasn't exceptional. This guy wasn't exceptional much either. And then Briss Lord. The Human Eyeball, his nickname. Intriguing. He was traded later this season. When was that? Traded about a month later. Joe Jackson. Is this shoeless Joe Jackson? Yeah, it is. So Joe Jackson was on this team as well, but this was kind of before he came around. Wow. This Cleveland team had some star power. They didn't do very well. I mean, this was kind of before they were fully realized, but interesting little bits there. Okay, so who are our players of this game? Jake Stahl. Did I go back and look at him? I'm not sure if I did. Yeah, yes, I did. So Jake Stahl had a nice game. 3 for 5. His other 2 bats he struck out. A lot of 2-hit efforts. The only starter that didn't get a hit in this game was Heine Wagner. And then for Cleveland, kind of a similar thing to happen. The pitcher, he didn't even hit. Did he have a short outing? Yeah, he didn't even get around to his at-bat. Spec Harkness, he had those 3 at-bats and he struck out all 3 times. Yikes. So that's funny. So Spec Harkness was making his debut out of the bullpen, and they just threw him in there, and I mean, it was part because Willie Mitchell was really bad to start. Seacott had the entire game, did not pitch well, but pitched well enough to win. And then Walt Doan, they just could not stop this Red Sox offense. It seems like got a double, a triple, a couple stolen bases in this game, a couple of doubles here. All right. League Park 2. I always find it funny, like, a lot of those older stadiums, they had, you know, like American Park, and then American Park the sequel. So, a little funny thing there. Boston Red Sox, Cleveland Naps. Both teams ended up kind of middle of the road, maybe a little bit below average this season. Cool little game with a lot of star power, a lot of kind of older Hall of Famers. Got Tris Speaker. Elmer Flick is kind of the one that you kind of think about now that you are aware of it. Spec Harkness made his Major League debut in this game. Nap Lajoie? Lajoie. I always Lajoie. 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 Okay. Bet you're sick of me saying that. Nap Lajoie. I wonder if the team was named after him. Wait, okay, let's see. Was he a player coach? Yes, he was. So the Napoleons. Wait. So he managed while he was playing. And then this year he wasn't the manager because this is 1910. Who was their manager this year? Deacon McGuire. Pretty awful. Never really did well at all. Some bad teams. The Senators team, one of the worst teams ever. Huh, okay. So, Nap Lajoie was a player manager, like I thought, but he was not a player manager this year. So he started his career. So I guess this was toward the end of his career, but he didn't manage. So he managed in this set when he was one of the best players. And then he stopped managing this year. Was still very good, maybe better than he had been in recent years. And then he never managed again. That's intriguing. Nap Lajoie. There's a little bit of lore on him. So I mean, they were the Cleveland Napoleons, I guess, is the full name, but I wonder if his first name ever influenced the change to just shortening the name to the Cleveland Naps. Huh. How about that? Well, there you have it. A June 13th, 1910 game between the Boston Red Sox and the Cleveland Naps. A 9-3 victory in an Eddie Seacott victory, a complete game victory. Not a complete game shutout by any means. A lot of hits in this game, but hey, you do enough to win and you'll walk home with the W. So, good stuff there. All right, we'll be back with another episode at some point. Thanks for watching. This is Zany Baseball on your Baseball Reference Deep Dive. Have a great day.